You've cut your lattes, you live with roommates, you even have a shared Netflix password. Yet somehow, you're still too broke to buy a home. Welcome to the housing market, where the rent is too darn high, the houses are too darn expensive, and the system? Oh, it's working perfectly. Just
not for you.
Here's the hard truth no one wants to say out loud. The housing crisis was never meant to be fixed. Today, we're unpacking the great lie we've been sold about housing. How the market got so messed up, who profits from the pain, and why no one in power actually wants to fix it. We'll look at history, policy, and profit motives. From redlining to Airbnb, from affordable housing promises to YouTubers saying, you're just not hustling hard enough. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's just economics. To understand today's mess, let's rewind to the 1940s. After World War II, governments in the US and Canada poured billions into building suburban utopias. With programs like the GI Bill, white veterans got government-backed loans, zero-down mortgages, and even financial aid to build homes. It was marketed as a reward for their service, and it worked if you were white. Black veterans, indigenous people, immigrants, they were systematically excluded. Banks refused to lend, real estate agents refused to show homes. The suburbs were built with walls, sometimes literal, often legal. The tool of choice? Redlining. Maps were color-coded by perceived risk. Entire communities were labeled hazardous, simply because they were black or brown. The FHA and private lenders used these maps to deny loans. We do not invest in colored people's neighborhoods. Actual FHA underwriting guidelines, 1930s to 1960s. Meanwhile, white families bought homes that doubled or tripled in value within a generation. They built equity, passed it on to their kids. They got the wealth escalator. Everyone else stuck at the bottom, renting and bleeding cash. In the US, the average white family has 6 to 10 times more wealth than the average black family. And most of that is tied to home ownership. Canada had its version too. Zoning that explicitly excluded minorities, lending discrimination, and housing co-ops that required European descent. And that American dream? It was a gated community with a no-entry sign for millions. The legacy? A housing market that started as segregated and never truly healed. That wealth gap? It's not a glitch. It's baked into the blueprints. Here's where things really go off the rails. In the late 70s and 80s, neoliberal policies took over. Deregulation, privatization, the rise of free market worship. Real estate was no longer just about a roof over your head. It was about building a portfolio. Owning a home is the cornerstone of the American dream. Ronald Reagan, also a landlord. Public housing programs were gutted. Federal funds for affordable homes dried up. Cities sold off public land to private developers who promised luxury condos and delivered, well, luxury condos. In the US, HUD housing construction dropped by 80% between 1970 and 1990. In Canada, CMHC pivoted from building homes to financing mortgages. Public good became private gain, and Wall Street noticed. By the early 2000s, pension funds, hedge funds, and REITs, real estate investment trusts, piled into housing. Why? Because it was safe, stable, and oh so lucrative. A new asset class was born. Between 2000 and 2020, U.S. home prices rose 118%. Median household income? Just 26%. And then came the media machine. HGTV shows like Flip or Flop turned home speculation into a spectator sport. YouTubers and TikTokers glamorized being a landlord, turning rent collection into a flex. If you're paying rent, you're making someone else rich. Every landlord influencer ever. Meanwhile, renters face stagnant wages, bidding wars for basement apartments and $2,000 studio units with urban charm, aka mold. This isn't housing policy. It's casino economics. Today, homes are traded like stocks. Prices rise not because people need shelter, but because investors expect future gains. Shelter? That's just the side effect. Let's get one thing straight. This system isn't broken. It's just working exactly as designed, just not for you. For landlords, every rent hike is a paycheck. For banks, every overpriced mortgage is years of sweet, sweet interest. For developers, luxury condos mean higher profit margins. And for politicians, well, homeowners are more likely to vote. And guess what? Homeowners tend to vote for policies that protect home values, not expand access. In Canada, 1 in 4 members of parliament owns investment property. In the US, nearly half of Congress are landlords or invested in real estate-related assets. So when you ask why housing policy is slow, watered down, or non-existent, remember, it's personal. For them. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. Upton Sinclair. And don't forget the developers. They'll tell you the market just needs more supply, but it's rarely affordable supply. Ever seen a luxury micro-condo going for $850,000? Yeah, that's not solving anything. Why build for the middle class when you can build for offshore investors looking to park cash? In 2023, 1 in 5 newly built homes in some U.S. metros were bought by institutional investors, not families. Even local city governments are addicted to rising property values. More tax revenue without raising tax rates. It's a quiet incentive to keep prices high and zoning tight. And then there's the real estate lobby. In the U.S., the National Association of Realtors spends millions lobbying every year. In Canada, developers are some of the most powerful lobbyists at the provincial level. So, when you hear talk about gentle density or studying affordability, that's code for do nothing that rocks the boat. Because for the people at the top, the status quo is lucrative. They don't want affordable homes. They want appreciating assets. If monopoly taught us anything, it's that the person with the most hotels always wins, and everyone else sleeps on Baltic Avenue. This isn't accidental. It's the business model. If you thought the market couldn't get more dystopian, welcome to the 2020s. This is when housing became full-on financialized and gamified. First up, Airbnb. What started as a cute way to rent out your guest room has turned into a hotel empire without hotel regulations. Entire apartment buildings are now de facto hotels. In 2022, New York had more Airbnbs than actual available rentals. In Lisbon, 1 in every 5 homes in tourist districts was a short-term rental. It's like landlords discovered cheat codes. Evict your tenant, install an IKEA bed frame, triple the income, and it's not just mom and pop hosts anymore. Corporate landlords now run thousands of listings under shell companies. It's professionalized displacement. Next, let's talk about the rise of institutional landlords. Hedge funds like Blackstone buying up entire neighborhoods. In 2021 alone, investors bought 1 in 4 homes sold in the U.S. In cities like Atlanta and Charlotte, it was closer to 40%. These aren't people buying homes to live in. These are rent-maximizing machines with zero emotional attachment and zero incentive to keep rents reasonable. Then there's the ghost tower phenomenon. You know those shiny condos in the city with no lights on at night? Yeah, those aren't vacant by accident. Wealthy investors, many foreign, buy property just to park money, not to live in, not to rent, just to store value like it's a vault made of drywall. Toronto, Vancouver, London, Sydney all share this trend. Entire vertical neighborhoods with no neighbors. Add to that the influencer industrial complex. TikTok landlords preaching retire at 25 with passive income, real estate YouTubers promoting shady no money down schemes, and the glorification of rent extraction as a goal. It's easier to find a 19-year-old on YouTube teaching you how to evict tenants than it is to find an affordable apartment. And the latest twist? Tokenized real estate. Buy fractional shares in properties like stocks. You don't own the home, you own a slice. It's basically crypto meets real estate. Imagine bidding against not just a hedge fund, but a swarm of crypto bros armed with Bitcoin gains and zero chill. These trends aren't just quirky side effects. They're symptoms of a housing system that rewards speculation over shelter. And every time a home becomes an investment vehicle, it gets one step further away from being, a home. Here's the wildest part. We actually know how to fix this because it's been done, just not here. Vienna owns and manages over 60% of its housing stock. They don't rely on the free market. They build and maintain affordable housing that's available to anyone. And it's not the projects. It's dignified, desirable, and integrated into the city. Singapore, they house over 80% of their citizens in government-built, high-quality housing. The government acts as developer, landlord, and manager. Tokyo, they've essentially abolished restrictive zoning. Want to build a triplex next to a single-family home? No problem. Their housing supply adjusts to demand, so prices stay stable. Meanwhile, in North America, we've got zoning codes that make it illegal to build anything but single-family homes on 75% of urban land. We can't build affordable housing here. It'll ruin the character of the neighborhood. Translation, I like my equity more than your dignity. And politicians, they love symbolic gestures, down payment tax credits, first-time buyer grants, affordability studies. You know what they don't love? Actual units built fast. In 2023, Canada added only 10% of the housing it actually needs to meet demand. In the US, it's estimated to be short by over 5 million homes. Why? Because real reform means upsetting powerful people, wealthy homeowners, real estate developers, and banks, the same people funding campaigns and shaping policy. It's not that it can't be done, it's that it hasn't been allowed. We could change zoning laws. We could fund non-market housing. We could regulate rent and vacancy hoarding. We just don't, because the current system benefits those already inside the gate, and every fix threatens their castle. So what's the takeaway here? The housing crisis wasn't some unfortunate accident. It's a feature, not a bug. A system designed to enrich a few by keeping the many locked out. But that doesn't mean we're powerless. History shows that change is possible when enough people demand it. You can't just hustle your way into a house when the game's rigged. You need to push for policies that prioritize people over profit. Demand affordable housing. Support and vote for candidates who fight for zoning reform and tenant protections. Question the narrative that owning a home is the only path to wealth, because it's not the only path, and it shouldn't come at the cost of basic shelter. Remember, the housing market wasn't built for you, but maybe, just maybe, we can build a new one that is. If you learned something new, hit that like button like it's a bidding war on your dream apartment. Subscribe for more deep dives that cut through the noise. And drop a comment. What's the wildest housing story you've heard or lived through?